Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Now, if you're one of the few people who has seen other videos on this channel, I want to thank you for coming back, and I'm surprised that you did given the terrible quality of video and completely inconsistent uploads and lack of completing any series in any way, shape, or form. But I am back with another playthrough, and this time I won't make any false promises, but I am going to finish this one, and that is not a false promise. The reason I didn't really keep up those videos in the past is because I kind of took a little hiatus from this game, which I'll talk about in a minute here. But anyway, let's get some gameplay on the screen so you're not just staring at the menu, because you could do that on your own time. Anyway, deity, difficulty, quick speed is what I'm into these days, continents, small size, and we're going to talk about this moron. Now, I don't mean to offend anybody by calling him a moron, but this is probably the worst save in the game by far. And, I don't mean any disrespect to the Khmer people. In fact, I'm a proponent of fixing this civ, so as to be more respectful to Khmer. The reason being, well, let me add a little disclaimer. I have not played as them yet. And the big question mark here is their unique unit, which is super badass. It's basically a catapult on an elephant. What could go wrong? But anyway, their main bonuses are pretty garbage. Like, mostly because they have to do with food and faith. Mostly food, and food doesn't really matter, and religion is better now, but not amazing still. Or I'm still kind of figuring it out. I'll leave the door open on that one. Yeah, he's kind of doesn't have a whole lot going for him. Like a little bit of he is a bonus to aqueducts. Like, why would you ever build an aqueduct when you have water? Like, this still isn't really a good reason to build an aqueduct. Like 3 faith and an amenity? Like, it's a little lackluster. But anyway, I am dedicated to trying this civ and trying to make them work and trying to show people that they can be great. So we're going to fire this thing up. Wait, I've had these volume off this entire time. You've been able to enjoy my beautiful voice only. Anyway, let's get this going here. I'm actually gonna turn down the Sean Bean here. Sorry, Sean, but if you want to hear the intro, hey, you can hear that on your own time. You're here for the insights. Now, I wanted to mention I took a break from this game, and mainly because the interesting thing, well, the thing about this game is that they don't really cater to like hardcore players, which is kind of sad because I'm one of them. But think of it this way. They get your $60, and this isn't me like calling them out or any like, I just understand like from a business point of view, they get $60 for or whatever for every person who buys the game, whether you play it for 3 hours or you play it for like 3,000 hours. They have your money up front. So they're really incentivized to cater to people who like, they buy the game, they think it's cool, they'll play it for like 3 hours, like once a month. They'll play as like, England and make the cool boat and like they have fun. They play on Prince or whatever. And that's fine. Like, it's not really fine. Come on, pick up the slack. But anyway, they don't care if you're like me and you like freaking take the game apart and stuff. Like, sure, every product, every business wants to have like core fans or whatever, but they don't have a system kind of like consider like a free to play like MOBA like Dota 2. The game is actually free, so like ultra casuals they don't actually care about. They cater to the people who are dedicated, because the more dedicated you are, the more microtransactions you buy, which are things like cosmetics or like extra little content that you don't really need. But if you're like a fan and you're like really having a great time and you're dedicated to it, you'll actually pay for that, and they make money that way. It's a good business model, and it makes the experience really cool because the game is so like fine-tuned to be competitive, and it's really fun. And Civ, they kind of cater towards that like casual, looky, we're having fun here. It's like a silly board game. And I just see like the game has so much to it, and there's just so much potential for like there's potential for taking it super seriously that I would love to see them expand upon. Let me take a brief moment to actually talk about this game. So I like these hills over here. Not a fan of this. Big fan of the horses. I dig the coastal resources. I don't think I'm going to move because I want to work this horse right away. And then there's some good stuff up here. There's some good stuff down there, so I don't really need to like... I could sort of peek down here, but I'm not going to be able to see much with my warrior before I have to commit, so... Yeah, that was stupid. Anyway. Yeah, I'm an expert at this game, as you can see. Well, I kind of am, but... And we're going to pop this down right here. Angkor Thom. That's right, Angkor Wat is located in this real civilization's history. And it's also in this game, and I can't remember where that is. That's how long it's been since I played it. That's the mausoleum. That was the last patch. Try to keep up. There we go. Oh, that is very good. Must be built adjacent to an aqueduct. Okay, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Bonus to aqueducts. Aqueduct Wonder. What a coincidence. They did the same thing with, Did they do the same thing? I was going to say a Monitory, but whatever. Anyway. So the AI, the governor, it's not going to be called the governor anymore because they're adding actual governors to the next expansion, which is pretty cool. But people used to always call it the governor when it would automatically choose your tiles. It always like prioritizes production, which is nice, but like you really, really want that first pop because it's only 4 turns to like double your population. So when you put it that way, it's clearly the best way to go. So we do need a religion. I'm not excited about that, but that's the idea with this Civ. I did want to conclude my previous point, and hopefully it's clear what I mean by like when I say they're incentivized to cater to people who pay the money up front. It doesn't really matter how much they play after. And like, it just annoys me because like a little bit. Because I love this game. I want to take this game as serious as I can, but like, there's not opportunities to the way there is with other games. Like Deity, like the game is getting better every patch, which I'm really happy about. There's only 4 a year, which isn't a whole heck of a lot. Yes, they're major, which is great, but that's okay. What I want to say was like Deity, like it's still kind of cheesy, like playing against the bots. Like they don't play the same game as you. Like for you, a mine is like for production or whatever, and for them, it's like 4 times whatever weird percentage bonus they get for whatever they happen to be building at the moment, right? So you can't just be like, oh, my cities have like XYZ good tiles, and they have like this tiles, like they're slightly ahead or whatever. You can't even like comprehend that stuff because like it's just they have all these weird multipliers, so you're not really playing like a 1-to-1 game, and that's just silly because this game is so well made from in terms of the mechanics and how they play into one another, and it's really cool to like min-max your production versus your science versus your food, whatever. It's not perfect, and I was excited for them to add more, but anyway, my point being, like, I actually said this in one of my original stream of videos. It feels like there's this amazing game and no one to play it with. because the bots are just kind of cheesy. You cheese them. You try to like beat them with archers because they don't understand. And then multiplayer, like, that's where you see some potential because you're obviously playing the same game with other humans, which makes it really compelling from a strategy point of view. The thing is, like, multiplayer really exposes a lot of the balance flaws in the game. Like, some units are much better than other units. Like, why would you ever build a swordsman when you can build a horseman? Stuff like that. And they don't like build the game and balance it around that, which makes me sad. Because like multiplayer is where you actually see potential for some very, very high level strategy in the context of this really cool strategy game, which is what makes me excited. Give me 1 second here, apologies. But anyway, online speed is cool, although it's definitely an improvement. Online speed, double speed, because that's the main drawback, right? The game length, right, is a huge issue when you're talking about actually playing multiplayer. Yes, we can't get you go on YouTube and there are people who like play it all day and like that's great for them, but like let's be real for a second, like you can't commit to like an 8-hour standard speed civ game, like, and be like that's something I do unless you're like a streamer or something. Yeah, like, but here's the thing, like online speed is a step. It might kind of throw off the game, but that's a topic for another day. The speed balancing. But they could like figure it out. They could still implement like a pretty decent matchmaking system. You could just think of you could figure it out. They were smart enough to make this game. They could figure out a way to make multiplayer work and then focus on that and make that appealing to like serious players like me who like to take it really seriously from a strategy point of view. You could have things like you could break the game down into like sessions, like you only play through the medieval era in your first session and then you have to come back, or I don't know, that's just a random idea, like maybe you have to come back the next day or whatever, commit to a time. Sure, that's messy, that's not as easy as like I'm going to play Hearthstone for 10 minutes or whatever. That's easy, but still, there are ways to make it work, and people who like the game like me will make it work, you know. But and then there's this thing this peeves me that like, and I'm just ranting but a little bit, but there's some interview where the devs were like, oh, you know, we don't focus that much on multiplayer because like less than 10% of players play multiplayer. And maybe more people would play multiplayer if you like implemented a good multiplayer. Does that make sense? Like you're saying, oh, like no one plays crappy multiplayer. Yeah, because it's crappy, not because like good multiplayer people wouldn't play that, you know? But anyway, like I know I'm ranting. There is like this group called Civilization Players League, which I highly recommend you check out. It's just a fan community that like gets games together, and they actually have a leaderboard and stuff, which is pretty cool. I'm not like an expert on how they actually run it. Like, their like ranking system seems a little weird, but anyway, definitely worth checking out though if you're into Civ. Like, it's a whole nother game when you actually play with other people. So, you know, speaking of games, I'm playing one right now. Why am I building a builder? You always want to start with a scout, and because I have a good amount of land here, I'm going to go with another scout here. Scouts are just always nice. They never really drag you down. If you first meet a city state, that's huge. If you find goodie huts, that's nice. If you scout out the best settlement spots near you, that's great. If you know who your neighbors are, that's great. Really can't go wrong. They can fight barbarian scouts. They can escort units. They're really cheap. They don't cost any maintenance. Don't feel bad about building a scout. Now the real question is, do I want a boat as well? Because boats are phenomenal scouts in their own right. If you're on the coast, I think I will do that. And I kind of I made a small mistake here. I should have researched sailing first. and just whipped out a boat instead of a second scout, if that makes sense. Because the boat is going to effectively function as a scout for me. It does the exact same thing in the beginning of the game. The galley here. So I could have maybe rushed this out and not build a second scout, but it's really okay. Three is fine. 3 is fine as well. So we've got non-Madal, which we first met, which is awesome. +2 culture, so it'll kick in next turn. So that more than doubles our culture, which is kind of insane if you think about it. Yeah, it's early, but it's still double. We got Valletta too, and the +2 production to units bonus affects things like settlers and builders, which is really, really cool in the early game. So our settler will have +2 production to it per turn, and that's really awesome. It's interesting. So the culture doesn't kick in yet from this city-state, but the production has already kicked in. I'm not sure, maybe I spaced out on those are different turns, but I'm pretty sure I met these in the same turn. Just coded weirdly, I suppose. So now I have this second scout, but it's starting to look less useful because I kind of have this. Like I can scout this with 2 units pretty effectively, but hey, we'll find a place for him. I'm gonna go ahead and get my builder started. I like to start with a builder, not a settler. In terms of like a per what am I trying to say here? Like production for production, a settler, like 80 production for a settler is still probably better than 33 for a builder. Like it really is, obviously, long term. The thing is, the builder will snowball my settler, and the settler will really slow down my builder if I do it that way. And then my builder can get me a nice civic boost, and which can snowball me into like all these other ones. And the builder is a very rapid +3 yield, whereas the settler takes time. And I have plenty of room. It's not like I need to like scramble for a settlement right now or anything like that. So I do like to queue up craftsmanship first, because getting fast builders in the early game is really, really awesome. That's really all there is to it. So I don't really see any barbarians, so I'm going to try to get my scouts some quick promotion so that you can really increase their scouting speed, and you can get like first meet city-states you otherwise wouldn't. You can find goody huts you otherwise wouldn't, because your scouts are moving way faster if they have one of the promotions. And I'm going to pick urban planning because I'm going for religion, so I don't need to use God King to get my Pantheon. So I might as well boost my production, because I'm going to be building holy sites anyway. Now, before I go any further, I wanted to think about my strategy here. So these units, military engineering, 45 bombard strength, which is more than an archer, 33 melee strength, which is, so they're like, you see how, I'm sorry, not archers. You see how crossbows are early medieval, and these are late medieval? Like here's medieval era where my mouse is, and here's Renaissance. So it's kind of, their combat values are balanced as such. So you kind of get this like more powerful crossbowman between crossbowman and the next upgrade, which is not till the industrial era. So for this entire period, like late medieval towards the early industrial, you have the most powerful range units on the field, which are really cool. And in fact, they're siege. So dang, these are really pretty sweet. So they basically have the power of strong crossbowmen. They have the damage potential of siege. I'm trying to remember if siege, man, it's been a while. If siege is weaker to units in this game. I honestly can't freaking remember, and I apologize. At one point in the past, or maybe it was in Civ 5, siege units did not damage units very well at all. It might be this game. We'll find out. But even if they're just used for siege, they're pretty sweet because they can attack the same turn you move them, which is a huge disadvantage for siege units. And they exert zone of control, so that's pretty awesome. So we're definitely going to go for like I think my general strategy will be get my religion going, which is really hard. It's really hard. Anyway, forego literally anything else except for getting to military engineering as quickly as possible. Potentially also getting stirrups as quickly as possible. So that way we have this really powerful melee core of knights running around causing chaos and Domries blowing everything up. Ooh, one pop. That's one of the best ones you can get, for sure, for sure. Look at this flare, like, I found 1 food, 2 production, 2 gold per turn, 2/3 of a science, and 1/3 culture. That's a lot. That's better than 20 gold or whatever, you know? Per turn, I should say, too. Like, I'll take that. That's great. Oh, sometimes this game makes me laugh. What a bold adventure. Here's the thing. It's going to bombard my dude, and he's going to take a ton of damage. These things are real nasty. Barbarian Quadrireme. Because it's like a tech... It's like an era ahead. It's like an era and a half ahead. And it just like shoots your scouts, and it's really annoying. Anyway. I'm liking the amount of space we have here. Kind of gives us a chance to not build any defenses while we get a religion going. The biggest thing for scouting for me is finding 3 city-states, because political philosophy is so important that you really, really want to boost that. Yep, there's the obnoxious boat slamming into us. Let me turn this up back up a little bit here. That's fine, that's fine. So, hugely important thing here. Don't research more than you need. Craftsmanship is half. The boost will finish the other half. I'm going to get the boost no matter what. I don't need to rush this, so I'm just going to switch it over. Improve 3 tiles. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Whoa. So when the camera did a little like flip there, that means you've reached the western hemisphere, like the dividing line for the game map, like between on the left side. Does that make sense? Like, because I moved my unit into here and it crossed like the halfway point of the map. It kind of like did this glitch where it like flipped around the world. You'll notice it if you haven't already, now that I pointed it out. Really love getting settled. Just focus on your economy, your early economy, like your core economy means getting land and improving that land. So you're just improving your core yields, your population, your production, all that good stuff. Don't worry about like rushing anything like a campus or whatever. Because if you think about it, campus, if you put it, a campus alone is literally like, I could put it next to this mountain, that's nice, 1 science. You know what else is 1 science? Like 2 population, I'm sorry, 1.5 population is 1 science. 1.5 population is 1 science. It's also 2/3 of a culture, 2 food, and 2 production, or whatever tile it works. That's better than 1 science for that you have to like you know, build and plop down and commit to a district for. So think of it that way. Yes, I mean, the great scientist point is a big deal. But still, like, that's kind of hard to calculate. You know what I mean? Like, it's really hard to quantify great people points. You know, like, one great people point per turn is like 1/40th of Euclid. That's not how you say that. No, it is Euclid, because it would be like Euclides, or so it would be Euclid. Euclid? Ah, I'm so sorry. So like 1/40th per turn of the Eureka moment for mathematics and one random sec. Like, how do you quantify that versus like 3 production per turn? That's really easy to quantify. I will just say, like, sometimes you just have to go on feel, and great people do feel powerful. They do. I won't deny that. So I'm debating on whether I want to improve this copper and get +1 production, or improve this and get the luxury. And I think I'm going to get the luxury and get the irrigation bonus, which is otherwise kind of a pain to get. So by the point being, I'm not going to research mining, because I need to make sure I have astrology ASAP. Like, yeah, not immediately, because I'm not immediately building holy sites, but I need to, like, start, like, now. Like, what I always do is I build 2 cities, and then I immediately build holy sites in them, because that gets to, like, a ton of great profit points really quickly, which is what you need to get a religion on high difficulties still. If you didn't know, in the most recent patch, they buffed religion, sort of, in single player, like, for you in single player, in the sense that it's easier to get a religion, because civs that don't have religious bonuses don't go for them nearly as hard. So if, like, this dude Khmer was an AI, they would still, like, go for religion, like, kind of the same as the old patch. But if it was like England, like, they wouldn't care really as much, which is really nice, because it was so annoying that, like, religion was so not viable. I mean, it, like, in terms of, like, you literally had to, like, restart the game over and over until you could, like, actually get really lucky and get a religion. Even if you, like, execute the beginning perfectly in a nice star, like, it would sometimes just be like BS, and, like, it'd be like Gandhi, Arabia, and, like, Spain, and, like, they would just take it. So now that can still happen, but at least, like, Victoria and, like, France and, like, America, they're not going to be rushing religions. So you have, like, a chance. You know what I mean? Alright. But so usually you find a natural wonder. That's another reason. You know, I said I was going to make a boat, didn't I? I lied to you all. I still want to, but I think at this point I actually will delay it. Because if I get foreign trade, I could build a faster boat, and I could build 2 of them. So I'm just screwing over my past self. And I was going to say, usually you find a natural wonder. Like, I've discovered a decent amount of land, but I need to make sure that astrology finishes, like, so I can build it immediately after my settlers. So I have to tech through this, even though I don't want to, because I just can't know when I'll find a natural wonder. I just can't play around that, because I just need to get that started. So that's a case where you really just have to sacrifice some efficiency, or the fact that you need this tech right now. I might run into that same problem with foreign trade here, because I'm about to reach the halfway point, and I haven't discovered a second continent either. And I'm going to reach a point where I can't tech anything past, like, a halfway. And so I'm going to have to waste a bit, because I will find one eventually, obviously, just not right now. But the thing is, I know I'm about to finish craftsmanship. I don't really know if I'm going to ever get foreign trade anytime soon. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep researching foreign trade, because I know I'm about to get this boost. Like, I'm not going to waste it, but I might not find a continent for a while anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead on that one. Come on! Military tradition. Basically just complete waste, because you almost always get that one. Although you don't always get it early. So I'll give him that credit. So I'm trying to think about like how to win as this guy. So like I'm just trying to think. So like obviously religion. Like you could go for religious victory, like that's pretty obvious. One interesting thing is their relic, like their temple. Their temple gives everybody martyr. It's kind of like the wonder. Where is it? Mont Saint Michael, where every apostle gets martyr. Oh, it gives missionaries martyr. So that's really interesting. I guess they did that to make it A, better, and so it didn't just flatly stack with this wonder, so it was completely garbage. Especially since this wonder has relic slots, which you might need. But anyway, like the fact that you get lots of extra, you could kind of like get tourism, right? Because relics give you tourism, like a lot of tourism. So okay, it doesn't even freaking show it. Like, am I supposed to go for tourism? But like, that's only one little bonus to tourism, and it's really hard to like get religion and get culture, and without like not having a military or like not having any science or money. Like that's just like there's only so many things you can do at once. You can't like if you go into the game like my strategy will be to have the most science, the most gold, the most production, the most culture, and the most faith. That's not how it works. Of course you would do that every time, but you have to make choices about what you prioritize. And so like you kind of a good way to think about it is like there's like hard yields, like you need population in cities and production and science. And then but then like there's like soft like yields, like soft bonuses, like great people points or like tourism or like religion. Like it doesn't really have like it's hard to quantify their benefits. Like it'll lead to a victory condition, but it's hard to know like it's still like outside of your core. Like all civs need the core like yields, like production and cities or whatever. But like not every civ needs a massive military to win. Not every civ needs tourism, right? So like the thing is like you can only really do one. Like you can only of the extras of the soft strategies, the soft yields. So you can really only do like have a strong core civ and go for tourism. Have a strong core civ and go for religious victory. Have a strong core civ and make a big military. Like hopefully that makes sense. So that what I always think of is like Japan, like Hojo, his it's like the perfect troll. He's like such a troll because like his agenda is faith and culture and military, which I literally just listed are like the three things that are like bonuses that like you can't have more than one of them. And so like you can kind of get culture. Culture is kind of like science, but then like you mostly get like tourism and culture. That makes sense because you're building theater districts and wonders. But anyway, yeah. So like, thanks Hojo. Like, if I get a lot of faith, military, and culture, I either better be like stomping people with my military, which if you're doing that, it doesn't really matter what else you're doing. Like that doesn't matter. Like if you're just winning in that case. But yeah, like. I can't like get a big religion and get a lot of tourism without having like no army and no science or money. Does that make sense? At least that's just a general way to look at it.